good night, good evening, good morning for some maybe. Another live stream today, and I hope you're doing well. We had a request for doing a G House bass type of thing. So I checked this out very briefly, and let's see if the chat room, if we have some views and people joining the live stream today. Well, currently not anybody. There are some people watching, but there is not yet somebody in the chat room. But that doesn't matter. We have the live stream always available in the playlist live stream. And if you are in a different timetable, maybe you have to work, you always can watch it back. So let me show you what the idea was. So I had this idea, let me see, and what I did check for on the subject of the G House bass is just one track I checked, which is from Kean Dysso, My House G House. Say, I think the from one guy, the Alex List, who does play it. A very nice track. It's very maximized, so that's of course what you not will hear today if I'm trying to reproduce, because that's the difference when you need to keep in mind. If you take a mix that's maximized, that's really optimized, mixed, and that's very different if you play things just solo, or in the case from the music software without any additional compressors and that kind of things. So Kean, you see it here, Kean Dysso. Maybe I should link this track. It's very nice track, very cool. I can link that one in the info section below the YouTube, this YouTube stream. Okay, let's go to it. And I need to be very careful that I don't get a copyright strike, so I cannot play too much of it. So what I did, I took the tempo that you see here. We have SubBoomBass-2, which is of course great for doing bass sounds. I have my own beat below it, which is punch. So here the bass drum, claps, and a sliced tambourine. This is so if we go here, see this is a sliced tambourine groove. You play here. This is the groove. And then on top of it, I simply play the notes. So yeah, and then let's go to the original. I took a few bars from it. So here we have this. This you can see here is the example. I called it here, example. Okay, let's make it a little bigger. I mute my punch. Then you can hear a drum beat with a very dark sounding bass. Yeah, it well could be maybe SubBoomBass-2, because if I listen to it, it almost sounds like a stack sound, which is having the contrabass. Yeah, it's a typical sound. Yeah, for the same reason, he also uses SubBoomBass-2. Would not surprise me. It's a very popular product. So now, if I go back here to my own beat, which is of course different, but just the same tempo, but it's a different bass. And yeah, you hear a dark analog style bass, although I'd also hear. So something like this could be. And if you go to the SubBoomBass-2, you simply can go for G House bass, simply in the class, sorry, wrong button, in the manager, and you can take bass preset 1 and just check it out there. There's plenty of things which are from the bass already very good. So if I would play again, you see, it's the same darker bass. And if you think, okay, it should be a little bit darker. Now you see the cutoff frequency is very down. to make it even more darker, you need to have the envelope amount a bit less. And then to have the same. So this is a little bit this bass. But I just take one preset so you can adjust it if you want to have a darker or more lighter. Let me see if we have some presets, maybe with the these have a wobbles. It's also cool. So this one has a filter LFO. You can see the speed is 1/16 and is the saw up. So the speed is set to 1/8 note. So it's tempo based. And here you can see that the filter is the LFO amount is open. And you see the LFO mode is mono, so each time when I hit the note, it starts again on the 0. So yeah, so there are so many sounds inside of it, and this is a combination. So yeah, so well could be, so just play around. Yeah, that one is also cool. So because later on in the track, he also does have a different sound. And so if I go back here to the track, so this is our own beat. And if I go back here to the track, but on a different point, okay, let's move this around. You can see that he uses a
My house, G House, I got flavor. Look.
Okay, there's the, it's kind of,
look down.
So there it's the bass is stacked, and you hear also the bass drum, dap, 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 dap. Of course, I need to be careful with a copyright strike. Okay, and you see a slow attack. Okay, let's take this little part.
Look. Look.
So this is, of course, very different from the first bass we had from this track. So going back again, this. So he uses multiple bass sounds in one track, in this G House track. And for the ones which are a little bit later, are we talking about the G House and using SubBoomBass-2 for making these basses? So if I show you again very shortly, what I'm showing here is this Kean Dysso track, My House G House. I will link this song from YouTube in the description box below YouTube. Now, what does he do also in this track? As mentioned, I lost track of my mouse. Where are you? Oh, here's the mouse. Back again. Is that you hear a slow attack. So in this part, need to move around this part here. Here it was.
Look.
You also can see it in the waveform that it suddenly, this bass has a slow attack. Of course, this you can do by simply, yeah, I'm not sure how he did this, but for instance, you can do this by using a slow attack in the amp envelope. So if I go to SubBoomBass here. So of course, this is a different sound. We have a very similar beat, which is not playing now. Why is it not playing? Okay. Because I'm not on the right spot. Okay. So, okay, this is maybe the wrong sound for this. Let me go back again to this first bass bang. Okay, then a bit darker. Okay, I'm looking for the right one. Which... Okay, this is a dark. So what you could do then is simply, if you go to the amp section here of SubBoomBass, is open the attack parameters, which makes, if you open it, you get a slow attack. And of course you need to record that. So that's where you get this a bit like a reversing sound. And of course, if you have a music software, you can record these parameters. You even could have it the same on the, I'm not sure if it's used here, it doesn't use a envelope. No, it's not really, because it's very dark. So these are things you can do to make this sound dynamic. And he does stack basses. So there's another bass coming on top of it. So I'm looking here in the bass presets if I can maybe find a... no, that's a... And now in this one, I use not only the slow attack on the volume, but also slow attack here in the filter. So that's also an option. And you could automate this also. So if I take this as an example, so this is the regular bass. Okay, and then what I could do here is in the mod matrix, I could say, a modulation wheel, control the destination would be the filter envelope attack. And here it is already very low. Okay, but if I see modulation wheel is also addressed in this section here. Okay, so you see here is the modulation wheel. So that's, of course, you have to keep in mind the modulation wheel could be controlling also something else. So in this case, the modulation wheel closes the filters. So I double click it so it's in neutral state, and then the modulation wheel should... Okay. Modulation wheel, filter envelope attack. Amount, it should work now. Okay, it's muted here, I think. Yes. Or not? No. Why is it not working? Should do this. That's a good one. Is there something I overlook? Filter envelope attack. Doesn't work. Maybe it's a bug, which surprised me. Most likely I'm overlooking something, because it should do this. Okay, so essentially, okay, for some reason, I don't see why it is not working. Sources, modulation wheel, filter envelope attack. Yeah, it should be working. Okay, maybe it's a bug. I have to check this tomorrow. Maybe I discovered a bug while doing a live stream. But that's something you also could do. So use the modulation wheel to increase the attack time, or simply record this as a parameter. That's too long. So that's cool by using dynamically the changing of the parameters. Yeah, and then of course, if you're making a track, there's so many basses on here. And I noticed that this G bass is very, the basic bass is very dark. And then of course, yeah, you could use any kind of bass here, which is darker. This one is dark. So here again, I open the attack of the filter envelope or the volume. But this one is better with the, so if you're recording a bass and you want to have a bit of dynamic changes to the sound, give it a try with the adding a slow attack to the filter. If that doesn't work right, try the amp attack. So that's my tip. Take one of the presets and watch what happens. So if you have then the, I would use this one, the attack. Yeah, and then of course this is getting boring because of the beat in the background. Then G House does all kind of changes. Yeah, the cool thing about SubBoomBass-2 is that it stacks certain types of sounds. So bass with different basic sounds. And so these sounds are also very useful, because in this track, I really hear all the types of sounds, sometimes very much with using reverb. So if I go back here and play this part. Okay, it's a bit later where he does some other things.
My house, G House, I got flavor.
Okay, not that part, this part. Look, you hear the slow attack? Now I have here very interesting bass. It's a bit softer, but this sound would fit very nice as a bass for this G House. Not for continuously using this bass, but it's called Bass Tube Army. That's the sound. And it uses here, I can see, a reverb, and that you could also, of course, increase. Yeah. Look. Yeah. So, yeah, simply bake one of the presets, treat up a little bit, and yeah, I think there are many basic presets already on board in SubBoomBass-2, which are very suitable for a G House. And of course, yeah, what happens very often is that people look at one track and they want to sound the same as this track. But my suggestion is always, okay, but that track, even if you have the same sound, it doesn't make that you can create a track which has the same feel, because everything needs to fit. It's the music, it's the sound. But I think if you compose music with the vibe of G House and do your own stuff, yeah, then you create tracks which other people would say, oh, how did he do this? So be creative with the presets. And yeah, the tips I gave to you is to just play around with the presets and also with the parameters. So let me see if we have people in the chat room. Yeah, people in the chat room, I hope you like it. So today, again, about G House and using SubBoomBass-2 for creating cool basses or additional sounds, because this Tube Army, is of course a very different bass compared to the other ones. So I was looking for the contrabass combination, but I didn't. So that's the cool thing about SubBoomBass-2. It combines subtractive with a very interesting range of samples. For instance, this tabla is tuned. So the tabla is you can use as a tuned instrument. Okay, I'm looping now something weird, I think. Okay. Let's go back here and use my own beat. It's using punch. Okay. Punch and then. And maybe you think, okay, this is a cool sound, but it does sound too dry for you. Yeah, well, we have two FX processors and high quality FX. So if you say, I want to have it spacey and really, you put on the reverb and you have a very cool, you can adjust the size of the loop and the length of the reverb. And what is also cool, let me see, and that should be possible now again, modulation wheel, and I can control the FX. Oh no, it's down here, sorry. Down here you can control already. So in the FX processing part, there's already the option that you can say modulation wheel control for me the FX1 mix, and then I can play dry. And when I open the modulation wheel, you get reverb. You control the mix. Of course, should not be too much. And of course, you need to check the modulation wheel I see here is on the filter. I double click here that it doesn't close the filter. So these are dynamic things you can do in your track. So if I would have this beat, I could record the modulation wheel. Okay, let's record this. Okay, it's maybe a bit too long. Oh, 1 second. Oh, hey, you did so. All kind of weird screens pop up here. Here, you see it. Okay. I must make it a little bit longer. It was just 1 bar. And then if you just record 1 bar, that's a little bit too short for giving this example. So another try. Okay, here we go again. Yes. Okay, ready? So you hear now. Isn't that cool? So in SubBoomBass-2, down here below the FX, you have 2 modulation slots where you can say, use the modulation wheel to control the FX1 mix, which is the reverb. And then you can make really of these typical grooves, which everybody says, how's that done, you know? Isn't that cool? Yeah, let me see the chat room. Maybe it's a question. And I look up because there I have a second monitor to see the chat room. And yes, cool. If there is any question or that you cannot follow me, just let me know. Should I save this preset for you as an example, where you can see how you can address the modulation wheel to the FX mix. Let me see if anybody would be interested in this. Okay, so I'm going back with my mouse. So I would save this preset then, save preset as Tabla Mod wheel MWhl Verb. No, it should not be too long, of course. Save preset. There it is. And it would be done in base preset 6. Yeah, because that's there. It will be a new one. So I need to memorize that because then I can add this one also in the next version. Hybrid bass, it's called. Yeah, it's having a fixed modulation wheel. No, it's not dark. So here's the new preset. So I make it for you downloadable. Then you can check it out yourself. And you have then an example how you can do this in SubBoomBass-2. Because, yeah, if you do these little things in your tracks, you get really different styles or things which are different from anybody. So using the modulation wheel to control the FX mix. Okay. Here some questions pop up. No, it's not the case that we have the import for own samples in SubBoomBass-2. This, I think, maybe would something be for SubBoomBass-3 in a very far future. We noticed that not many people want to do this. As a select group who likes to do this. Of course, we have a very nice range of samples on board. So if you look here, I want to go here, you see, and we also expanded this, by the way, recently by adding so many percussion vocal things. And the tabla is added recently. So, and the advantage is, of course, with our own samples, they are tuned or very sophisticated, created, very suitable for this type of sounds. And so if you would go to SubBoomBass-6 bass preset, yeah, these are many new presets I think we added, and also in the sequence presets there are many new ones. So if you go to the preset manager, order by date, because it also has this built-in sequencer. It's not only a synthesizer for playing solo synth sounds, but it's also very cool sequencer, wave sequencer built in, which you can select here in this part. Yeah, it's so all kind of weird stuff. Tune toms. And a funny thing, even if you have samples here, you can, this uses a tabla and toms, but you still can use the sub oscillator. Hear that? Yeah, it's far more than, I mean, that's the cool thing about SubBoomBass. It's having a very creative sequencer, but also if you want to say, oh, I simply want to synth bass for anything, and a very nice filters, of course. Yeah. Hey, DJ. Yeah, cool. You're an Explorer owner. That's cool. Yeah, there's many cool stuff inside of it. And yesterday on Facebook, I mentioned that we will have next week RP-VERB 2, and that one is going to be very cool. It will be VST3 support, but also we did redesign a little bit the lower section, and I can show you that in a minute. About 80s souls. Yeah, I think if you go in the bass presets, here you will find classic many basses, which were so this is a typical. And of course, in the 80s, 70s, they used the mini mode, and the legato mode is very important. If I switch down on my microphone, you see my gliding on the keyboard. So essentially, that is already a 70s, 80s bass, disco type. And of course, you can adjust it. And legato means that the envelopes are not re-triggered. So if I hit a note, this envelope here, I can make it a bit more. So this is doing the envelope. So if I shut down. And in legato, if I hit the other note and I play legato, this envelope from the filter and the amp section are not re-triggered. So then you get these typical legato style sounds. So that you can hear also the difference with mono. This is mono. If I hit another note, it simply re-triggers the envelopes, which are attack, decay, sustain, and release. It always re-triggers in the mono mode. So some synthesizers have only mono mode. For instance, my Korg MS-20 has that. And legatos typically came over from Moog, for instance, in the mini Moog, and that's. And then you can really have these typical grooves where you play legato. So there are many presets in these styles. Yeah, you know 60. Typical unisounds. And of course, you can adjust yourself if you think, oh, this preset is almost good. Yeah, by simply changing a little bit the cutoff frequency, or for instance, how deep the envelope works. Or the resonance. So this is the classic way 13, and I only changed a little bit the cutoff frequency, the resonance, and the envelope amount. These three, if you have a classic 80s bass, to make the sound more personal, change the cutoff frequency, the envelope amount, and the resonance to suit it a little bit. And also, you also could change the decay or the sustain. Of course, how much you like it. And if it's 80s, they not always had a chorus on board. So you see this one is very dry. Very dry sound. I mean, the original Mini Moog, which is often used in disco, didn't have chorus. So the basses are very dry. Of course, if you go more towards the Uno sound, well, that one had, of course, chorus, and you always can put on chorus. But makes the sound far more stereo. Bypass. But it takes them more room. So if you put chorus on a bass sound, it takes more room. So it depends on your mix. Sometimes without chorus is better, sometimes with chorus. So yeah, plenty presets for funky, that kind of things on board in these bass presets, or the more hybrid bass sounds, which have the combination. This is a box, the row box. The RP box was a wooden box with a little pin on it. I hit it and you get a very firm attack sound. So it depends on what use the string. Totally different types. So there are many characters on board. Just a little bit funky. So many sounds on board in this machine. Yeah, okay. So for the ones which are a little bit beta, we had a discussion about making the G House sounds, and I had this very short track analyzed. And of course, yeah, SubBoomBass-2 is great for these type of music, and yeah, the presets are always a starting point, and you always can do your own thing on it to make it more personal. And I made in this preset, which is here, there it is, this tabla with the reverb, where the modulation wheel. And yeah, you could record this, and if you look back, you can see how cool it is if you really use these typical features. Yeah, in the background you see the sequencer. Let me move it a bit away, because that's maybe okay. So yeah, that's about the G House, and I make this preset in the info section, so you can download it. I will mention how you need to put it in your SubBoomBass-2, how that works. And now, okay, let's watch what I mentioned about RP-VERB 3, which is on its way. Next week, we hope to release it. Let me see if I can... where should I open it? Maybe on my own voice. That would be cool. So I can open now, and then of course, if you have then VST3, it opens. Okay, here's my Cubase. I have VST3. You can use in the raw Papen folder, which is VST 2.4. But if you go to the Reverb, you have RP-VERB 2, and then you see 3 little lines. That means that this is VST3. And suddenly my studio's huge. It's a big hall. Okay. Excuse me. Now we have also the reverse active. Okay, let's make it dry now. So now you see we have then the control panel in the upper right corner. That will be, you can set 3 sizes, 100%, 133%, and 200%. You can check for updates. That's new, what we have in all the of our software. If you click that and there's a newer version, it will make that you visit the home page, and there you can open the download page below your RP-VERB 2 registration or Explorer 7. So that's new, and what is essentially different is, next to the VST3 and the different user interface sizes, that we did here some different things. Here is the envelope follower, gives you the option to do side input. So if I lose the regular input and make, for instance, a gated reverb, It's okay. I put this on. And put this on audio. Then you can hear it's a gated reverb. So the audio triggers this envelope, and then you see it's gated. I can do this. So that's the gated reverb. Oops, sorry. And of course, it's important that the what I want to mention about the if you use the envelope follower, you need always use it on an insert, because if you have an FX send setup, then yeah, it gates all the input signals or the signals. So it's the gated reverbs normally will be only on one track. Now, besides the input, we also have the side input, which means that something else can be used to trigger this envelope. So, and in Cubase, you need to go up here where you have this side chain, and then you need add sidechain source. Yeah, what I need to pick then is punch 2 maybe. So I would have then now the drums. Yeah, there are drums. Okay. I close it now. Now you see the drums popping up, and that one is using now to control the if it's interesting, I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Now the drums controlling the reverb. Weird, isn't it? Yeah, and then you can control with the release how it works. So this is very fast. So that's the side input. I made some presets in the RP-VERB, also examples, and because that's also new, we will have a bank manager. And you see then default presets insert. I created, for instance, to use the MIDI node for controlling the envelopes. So that's also different. There's an envelope inside RP-VERB 2, which is different from the envelope follower. The envelope follower, if you put it on here, it uses the input or the side input or even the output to create and trigger this envelope. And you can connect that to audio for audio gate things or to additional parameters. The envelope is essentially also a envelope, but now you trigger it with a MIDI node, so you need to connect MIDI, or you use a controller to trigger it, or you use the host trigger. So if you press play, it triggers the envelope, and you can see this envelope also can be looped. So this is for very weird creating sounds, and I'm not sure if this is gonna host trigger. Let me see. This is the host trigger test. And now you see that it triggers. Of course, you need to set the right parameters, but these are definitely things for the very creative people. And then the LFO mod, here you have a little 3 mod matrix or 3 sources with 3 destinations. And you have an LFO, which also can be triggered by MIDI node or host start, or any other MIDI input. Of course, you need to connect the MIDI. So these 3 little things are optimized much better than it was before. And especially the envelope follower is, I think most people will use the envelope, and the LFO is a little bit different in terms of usage. Yeah, so and the bank manager. So it's a... It's one of the products which I'm very proud of, because I'm absolutely freak in terms of reverb. That dates back from the 80s, where I was in the studio where there were at that time no digital reverbs. In the early 80s, what we did was we had an analog drum machine, and the engineer by using 2 speakers in the big room and recorded the room for having a room sound. So I always addicted to a reverb. And of course the quality is superb, but it can do a lot of different things. If you go to the vocal insert, okay, I go to the manager. I had a very nice click order by date. Okay, vocal sweet odd. So this is nice for if you're doing, for instance, if you do, yeah, film score and after audio video, and you need to have a very strange sound on the voice because she's in the other dimension, and you get all these kind of things. So what happens here is that I combine the normal reverb, very short reverb, with the reverse, which is very fast. The reverse inside RP-VERB is, I think, absolutely unique. I don't think there's any other reverb on the planet which has this cool feature. What it does is that if you set it here on reverb only, it does reverses the reverb sound. So you get the original sound, and with this one, you can mix between the original room and the reversed one. Yeah, and here down here you can see the parameters. So how it does reverb. Does it reverb for 1/4 a note? There's this additional attack and a decay, which softens the sound of it. So if you can hear now, okay, let's press the bypass. So this dial, if I go to the left, you have this typical room, this storm room. And if I go to the right, it's the reversed one. And now I mix in between. So that is a, so it's called vocal sweet odd, but yeah, you see. But also normal reverbs, very nice. This is a big church sound. It's a whole cave. And yeah, you can, it's an algorithm, so you can go, it's unlike the, how you call it again, the convolution reverb. This is totally algorithm, so you have all freedom in making it different in size. So I can go space, very long. Yeah, and yeah, what is also different is we have inside of it, which was earlier, ensemble. There's a late reflection, early reflections you can put on. So this icon, if you click here, you have the early reflections. Distortion, which is very cool. You can use distortion on the reverb, especially if you use then percussion. This can be very interesting. So in terms of feature, it's totally unique. So the reverser is unique, but then we indeed also improved this section, made more features, so that yeah, this is a, especially for people who like to tweak and love to create reverbs, not only for reverbs but also for special effects. And I think we have the oh, special for drum loops. I can see here. Yeah, I'm creating some more presets. So you see here, this is a side input. So if I have the side put, it should respond. Yeah, so this is when you use the side input. But of course, it depends on the sound. You need to tweak it. But from the base, it's pretty easy to understand, especially if you know what noise gates are and essentially what you know about how reverbs work. You will very easily find your way around in RP-VERB 2. So next week, we hope to release this one. It's going to be a very cool one. Yeah, the reverse section, that's one of the very powerful things. And in the end, it also went into a single product, which is, of course, RP Reverse. So the reverse technology, which we use in RP-VERB 2, That took a while to get it all in a musical way. And then I thought, yeah, why not use this also for normal audio? So we created RP-VERB, which is very popular. So default presets here, I have one, which is modulation wheel, reverb mix. Of course, here you can see, if you go to the mod section, you see modulation wheel, reverb mix. Well, now you only hear the original reverb, but if I connect now the keyboard, so I need to, let me show you how it works in Cubase. Okay. This is the voiceover, what I'm having here. So here's my voiceover. I create then a track, MIDI track, and this MIDI track I label Control RP-VERB-2 voice. Now, then I need to select the input of this RP-VERB-2, and I think it's the voiceover, this one. You see voiceover, RP-VERB-2 MIDI in. Now I use the keyboard. And now it should be the case, if I open this modulation wheel, that it goes to the reverse one. Yeah. Yeah. You only don't see this dial move. So that's something maybe we could do in a future update. That's currently not the case, that you see that this parameter is controlled by the modulation wheel. So here you see modulation wheel, and this part, source 2, controls the reverse mix. So if I open the modulation wheel, it mixes only to the reverse sound. Yeah, and of course, if you are in a music sequencer program, you also can use yourself this dial and record that one, of course, as a parameter. Cool, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's of course, I must say, a lot of credit goes for John Iris, who created this coding, because yeah, we were working many weeks on getting this right, and of course, the idea, I have this idea, and then, but yeah, he still needs to make it work and make it possible, and he's amazing on that subject, and that's cool teamwork, that I throw an idea, and then we start building it, and then yeah, finally you get this cool product. And here, don't see, is when it starts to record to reverse, because if you want to reverse something, it first needs to be recorded. So you have a trigger where when it starts to record. Mostly I put it down, that's okay. Offset means that, yeah, that you still can give it an offset in recording. You see also things move. Mostly I don't use this. And then hold time means is how long it takes before it starts recording again. So now it takes 1 bar before it starts recording, and the reverse time is then also 1 bar. So I can go smaller, so it holds for 1 bar and then records half a bar and then reverses it. So it's, yeah, try it out. You get some very interesting things. So yeah, this dial is important if you are in a song. For instance, if you are in a song and it has the regular reverb on your track, so like this, the lady is singing and she has some reverb, and then on a given moment you want to have this reverse thing. And you simply open this. Of course, the setting should be okay, more musical. Then you use this dynamically, and you can mix in between. So it's a very up to you how to use this in a creative way. And check it out on drums. It's very interesting how it sounds on drums with using distortion. let's go for this. I go to punch. We have punch here. Let's play punch. Okay. Now I need to see where punch is, and I put RP-VERB-2 on it. Aha, here's punch. Okay. Okay, this is already a very special one. Now I go to insert, of course, drum and percussion insert. Yes, I think this one uses also. Let's see what happens here. Uses the envelope follower. Tempo synced. Or if I go to a regular room, let's take a regular room. Yes, where is it? Claps. No. No. Default room. Oh, that's a weird default room. And now no, it's not nice. This is not nice as an example. I don't know why it's not working out. I think it's maybe due to the tambourine, which is maybe a little bit too much for this. Okay, maybe another. Not really. This is a... It sounds nice. This is without the room. But watch here if you put distortion on it. Makes also the reverb interesting. Okay, let's do without the kick. Mute the kick. So now we only have a clap. Now bypass. This is the clap. And now with the room. And you see the distortion, I can put it off here. Really adds a typical thing to it. I noticed especially with drums and percussion sounds, this is a very useful tool. And you have different types. Folder, power, and power. So many options on that subject. But next week, we will have RP-VERB-2 with VST3 support, manager, some new presets, and here down here, the envelope follower improved with sidechain input, the envelope which can be triggered in different ways, the LFO can be triggered in different ways, so and different user interface sizes. So this one you see now is 133%, but we also have 200%. So next week, there's free update for RP-VERB-2. Okay, guys, let me see in the chat room. We are already over an hour. Time flies, isn't it? Anyhow, cool that you watched this. And as mentioned, if you missed it, you can watch it back in the playlist live stream. And I will make the bass, which I showed in the example, downloadable in a second, and also link to this track about the G House subject which we had this evening. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Enjoy creating music and turn these dials. Bye, guys.